There it goes. It said on YouTube that we were live. Can you see it?
All right. Hello and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Democrats of Comal County. We're happy to have you here. We have a lot of people who are in the Zoom chat, and we have several of you who are watching on YouTube. Please know that we are going to have a great speaker tonight. Rebecca Bell-Metereau will be talking to us about education. And there we go. So Rebecca will be speaking to us in just a few moments, and then we will have the meeting of the Democrats of Comal County. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Those of you who are watching in the Zoom meeting, I can't see you, so if you have a question, please raise your hand in the chat, and we'll get to it. So I'll turn the time over to Kim. Kim, it's all yours.
Okay. Am I unmuted? Yes. And
yeah.
And Stacy, before I get started, can you start the recording of the meeting since you're a host? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there you go. All right, so let's see. By my cell phone, it's 6:33. So we are starting our August 11th meeting for Democrats of Comal County. And first, Marilyn Aden will introduce our guest speaker tonight. And then followed by our guest speaker will speak for a while, and then we'll have our business meeting. So anyway, we have some exciting news to share with y'all tonight. All right, Marilyn.
Okay. Rebecca Bell-Metereau is an award-winning professor of English and film at Texas State University. She's a native of San Marcos and a published author as well. She was a Fulbright scholar in Senegal in 1999. Her husband is a Vietnam veteran and retired teacher, and their 2 adult daughters attended and graduated from San Marcos Public Schools. She is running for State Board of Education, District 5, and this time it's the winner. This time we're getting it. And you're on, Rebecca.
I am so excited to be with all of you. You know, I came to your meeting when you had the epidemiologist, the doctor, last time, and it was so fascinating. I've been doing a lot of reading on research about COVID, and it was wonderful to be able to ask him questions in the chat. So I hope that everyone will take the occasion to go down to take your cursor down to the bottom of your screen of pictures. If you're looking at the gallery view, go down, and right in the middle there's a chat, and you can click on that and ask questions. And if Kim or you know, whoever's running things, Stacy, you want to let me know if people have questions, I would love to answer. And people don't have to wait until the end of my my talk. Thank you so much for that introduction. You know, a lot of times I get so excited about saying what I think the State Board of Education could do if we had good members on the board, that I forget to say why I'm qualified. And you know, sometimes I think it sounds kind of like bragging to say I've done this and I've done that, and I've been a Peace Corps teacher, and I've been an interpreter for grain flights to the Sahel, and you know, I go on. And after a while, I think, you know, I don't know if I'd vote for that woman. just bragging all the time. But this is a very simple talk that I want to give, and it's just to convey to you main points that we want to emphasize over and over. I know Democrats all have all kinds of different things to say, and it's one of the things that makes it harder for us to get our message out to people, because most people just want a simple message and they want to have it repeated. To really be able to understand what it is, they need to hear it enough times that it sinks in. You know, one of the reasons that our president was able to win was that he had a slogan, "Make America Great," or "Make America Great Again." And he actually kind of lifted that from another popular leader in Germany in the 30s, but that's another issue. And then it wasn't America, it was another country. But you know, anything that you can get people the idea, an easy idea to remember. So what I want you to think about, imagine if you had a tool where you could get a whole generation to believe a certain set of ideas. If you made them suspicious of science, if you made them think that only their history was valuable, if you made them think that when it comes to sex, just say no. That's all you have to do. And when it came to doing, you know, research, what do those experts know? A bunch of facts and figures. You know, what does that mean? Imagine if you could do that. That is what the State Board of Education, dominated by extremely ideological right-wing Republicans, have been doing for a long time. Now, you would say, why would they do this? I know some Republicans who are very smart and educated and everything. You know, why would they do this? Well, my theory is that they really don't like public education because everybody can get it for free. And so their idea is, let's make some money off of this education business, you know? And they're not going to make it the old-fashioned way where you educate your kids and then they're productive and they're smart and they do things that make money. You're going to do it in a way that will make them easy to control. So this is the best way to control people, is to give them simple slogans and not give them much information. Make them think, I'm not sure those scientists know what they're talking about. And, you know, those pointy-headed professors and teachers and everything, you know, I'm not sure I trust those people. You know, I think we all can look back on our teachers and think that some of our teachers were some of the greatest people we ever knew. You know, they're the ones that maybe rescued us from the bully, or they made us interested in what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I know that, you know, I didn't love all my teachers, but some of them, I really loved them. And they made me who I am today, you know, along with my parents. And we know that most teachers are not in it for the money because they don't get paid all that much. And as the years go by, they get paid less and less. They do it because they love kids, they love education, and they're convinced that education is the key to a better future. So if you can get people to think about the teacher that made a difference for them, and maybe, you know, tell you a story about a teacher who made a difference for them, you will be selling them on the idea that the State Board of Education is one of the most important offices that we have. And it's not a paying position. It's a board that is not paid, but 15 people on that board decide what all of these kids coming up are going to believe. And it's been going on for, you know, the last few decades. And it's been dominated by people who don't believe in evolution. They don't believe in scientific method. They don't believe in climate change, even though all of the evidence is there pointing to all of this as factual, as having scientific evidence to prove that this is the truth. So, you know, we're not even going to talk about saying, oh, you know what? Everybody here in the United States is an immigrant. Even the Native Americans were immigrants. At some point, they seem to have migrated across the Bering Strait. So, you know, when we talk about immigrants, if we look at history, then we would not feel so emotional and think, well, they can't take away my place, because you'd realize this Earth doesn't really belong to anybody in particular. We got to learn how to share it, and we got to learn how to take care of it. So one other thing, this idea of making money off of education. Did you all notice what happened with the statement about being able to give classes online? Did you follow that? Do I have anybody who knows the answer to this question? You have anybody? Well, yeah, Kim knows. They said charter schools and private schools can teach all online if they want to. Public schools have to send their teachers and students out into the classroom. We don't care what the infection rate is. We don't care what kind of danger you're going to be in. You're going to have to do it the hard way. Now, what's that going to do? That's going to make some parents think, well, man, you know, maybe I ought to send my kid to a charter school or private school. And who is that going to leave? It's going to leave people who don't have the resources, the money or the luxury to be able to send their child to a charter or private school. And it's going to mean that those people are going to suffer in the public schools, because the state is saying you won't be funded fully if you don't have in-person classes. Now, this sounds, you know, pretty nefarious to me, but look at the facts. Now, people who are setting up charter schools, there are public charter schools and there are some that are fine schools, but some of them are designed to make money. How about high stakes testing, STAR tests, all of those things? Anybody like those things? I don't see any hands. You see sort of shaking heads there. Those tests make somebody some money. And they're not really very good tests because they're not done by the kinds of professionals that formulate the assessment, the Iowa skills test, you know, tests that are nationally normed. And the difference between those tests and the tests we do in Texas, they don't give you data or knowledge that is longitudinal because they change them every few years. So you can't look back and see how much better are we doing than we were doing 10 years ago. There's another kind of data you're not going to get, no comparative data with other states, because Texas is the only place that has those tests. And the most insidious and destructive thing about those tests, it's not just the fact that somebody's making money off of those tests, that they don't work. It's that they've actually shown that the more you test kids, the worse they do, the less they learn. And teachers are forced to teach to the test, because if they're punished by getting low test scores, then they won't make as much money, or their school will get a D or an F. So the high stakes testing is something that the State Board of Education could have a strong voice in that and say, we have to change. If you think we can't afford the Iowa skills test every year, do it every other year. And it's not a test that anybody can teach to. So you don't end up with this drill and kill mentality where kids have to, you know, memorize a bunch of stuff and write an essay one certain way. So that's about the extent of what I have to say about the State Board of Education, although I could say many, many more things about it. But one of the things I want to do is make sure that we say, we don't want high stakes tests. We do want real scientific education. We want real science. We want real evolution. We want real comprehensive sex education, because that ruins people's lives if you don't tell them the facts about sex education. And any parent can say, I don't want my kids to know la, 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 and they can keep their kids out. But for the parents who are, you know, kind of shy about talking about sex with their kids, I know I didn't do that great a job myself, but they didn't want to talk to me about that. But a teacher can do it in a very objective way and protect your kids from STDs, unwanted pregnancies, and also make kids comfortable who are looking at their gender identity. And, you know, we want to be sure that all of our students are comfortable asking any question that they can think of in those comprehensive sex education classes. And it's done in a factual, objective way. So we we want to give our kids facts because those facts give them tools. And having financial literacy, vocational skills, civil discourse skills, civics, all of those things are going to prepare our kids for a very challenging future, but they will be able to handle it. And we want to give them a curriculum that is real history, so they see the full range of history and that they're excited about learning because it's real. It's not some, kind of phony made up stuff that they know is not really true. So when I ask you then to tell all your friends, State Board of Education is important, and tell them to go to my page, voterebecca.com, like my page. They can go to my Facebook page. They can go to Instagram and Twitter. I'm Rebecca Bell-Metereau. If you look up Bell-Metereau, you're going to find my name. So I'm going to put it up here on the screen. And if somebody can allow me to, if you can let me share my screen. Can I share my screen here for a moment? Can whoever's running the thing allow me to share my screen?
You should be able to now, Rebecca.
Okay.
I just allowed you to.
All right, so here we have the spelling of my name. I know it's tricky, and I want to be sure that you know that we're building a 20th century education. And we want to be sure that we change what's been happening in the Republican dominated SBOE that has been censoring information for our students. New skills, statistics, real history, and science. We also want to make sure that we have, whoops, I think I put up the wrong one here, but it does have my name. So I'm sorry, I think I put up a draft of this, but it's voterebecca.com. And I want you to be sure that you know how to spell Bell-Metereau. And so I'm going to stop my share now. I should have tested that out. I always do these different versions of things. And then when I go and pick them, I don't look at them and check what it is. Oh, I usually do, but I didn't this time. But ask people to like my Facebook page too, because I got 2,900 or so followers, but I want to get more likes, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that a teacher is running for State Board of Education.
Yes.
And I hope that, a couple of you have some questions. And
Rebecca, I don't have a question, but if you would share that, send that slideshow to me, I would love to post it on our Facebook.
I will share the right one with you. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. And then that would give us information to share on our Instagram account as well. And
that would be wonderful. Yeah. And you could do, you could take a slide and share something like that.
That'll give us a lot of little chances to share stuff. So
excellent.
That'll be great.
I will send it to you too.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing that.
I will say, oh yeah, there's Rebecca.
I do have a question. Would you tell us what the job of State Board of Education is?
I was just going to add that. The State Board of Education, this volunteer board, 15-member board, they select the curriculum and the textbooks. They approve charter schools. They manage a multi-billion-dollar permanent school fund, and they set graduation standards. And if you think about that, that's a huge responsibility. They have subject area experts, and they pick those people so they can handpick people who agree with what they think. So, it also means that textbook publishers really hate to do textbooks for Texas because they have to dumb them down. And just a few months ago, there was an article in the New York Times about how Texas had dumbed down its history books, and we're going to be tackling science. And science, if we don't get our kids to understand that climate change is real, we're in big trouble. We gotta start dealing with this now.
And another question I have: how many other State Board of Education positions are up statewide?
They're all up.
Okay.
And, yeah, and so there are 7 people. Let's see. They're not Democrats running in every single race, because there are some where Democrats didn't decide to run. But I can get that to you also with the slide. I'll get you that
Okay.
information. You can
Because
put that up, yeah.
do you know if there's a chance that if the Democrats that are running, could that take over the majority of the board?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in District 10, Marsha Burnett Webster, African-American woman with her PhD, very strong candidate and working very hard. And in my district, the good news is it's winnable, because in the areas that the southern part of Travis and northern part of Bear, and then the other 11 counties, that is a district, an area that Beto beat Ted Cruz by 10.5 percentage points in 2018. Wow. So that shows that the votes are there. When I first ran in 2010, I lost by about 24 points. And then I ran in 2012 and I lost by 8 points. And then in 2016, I got it down to 4 percentage points. So on this trajectory, you can see that I should be able to win, but I'm not taking anything for granted, because my opponent has a husband who's a pediatrician. So he contributed about $80,000 to her campaign to make sure she had a lot of signs out.
That must be Lonnie Pop. Lonnie Pop.
That's,
okay. Hey,
mm-hmm.
The Republicans in Comal County came out very strongly for her, because they really didn't want the other person.
Oh, right. Robert Morrow. Yeah, he in fact, I was a little worried there. He endorsed me. So I mean, he's a character.
Okay. Well, it got, I mean, they actually had people, standing at the 100-foot mark to say, go in to vote for Lonnie Pop. And people said, it's a woman that I'm looking for. That sort of thing. So
yeah. Well, so the other thing is, the district is, as I said, Northern Bear, Southern Travis, all of Blanco, Caldwell, Comal, Gillespie, Guadalupe, Hayes, Kendall, Kerr, Llano, and then up in the north, Mason and San Saba.
Wow.
So I've been in touch with everybody except the people in Mason and San Saba. So if you know anybody up there, be sure that you tell them, I'm going to reach out to them. And with Zoom, I don't have to drive around 13 counties. So it's a lot. I don't have to drive all that way.
I'll ask Terry Kasparis with Blanco County.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy, and I've met with them.
Yeah, he might know some people in Masons, or at least people that might know people up there. So
there are some Democrats up there. They have a presence there, and I just haven't made the connection. So
yep. Okay, that's great. All right, I need questions from other people, please. Education is the most important thing. That's the future. Let me put it on.
Rebecca, can you explain, this is Stacy Osborne, can you explain the difference between what kind of funding comes from the federal level and what kind of funding comes from the state level?
For education?
Mm-hmm. For education, yes.
Well, the federal level there's not that much federal funding. I mean, in Texas, the funding is coming from the Permanent School Fund. And so the federal level, they do provide materials, but the public education is something that's required in all of the states. But Texas has a particularly large funding source because of the oil and gas reserves. That has gone down somewhat. It fluctuates with the market. But one of the things that I think that they need to do for funding is to start figuring out how to wean people from fossil fuels and then include a certain percentage of income coming from renewable energy. And if they could make that kind of transition, then we sure have plenty of sun and wind. But the federal level they really don't have that much involvement in what is provided in the schools in Texas. And I don't have the exact figure.
Sure, and the only reason I ask is because, as you know, the president and Ms. DeVos recently have threatened to cut off funding for public schools if they don't go back to school immediately. So I wanted to have somebody explain the distinction there and explain that.
Well, I mean, and they can't. I don't think they can do that, but they're going to try to do things that aren't legal. I mean, we at the beginning, before the meeting, we were talking about these things, and certainly at the state level, saying that charter and private schools can have classes that are all online, but public schools can't. That's really a kind of targeting of public schools that's damaging. No, it's not fair. It's not right. And there again, the governor is making a threat that they won't get their funding. And actually, you know, charter schools already get about 17% of their funding from the state, and public schools only get about 9%. So they're already putting public schools at a disadvantage.
I know there are also a lot of charter schools who say that they actually get less funding than public schools do, and that they're not taking any funding away from public schools. Can you speak to that?
Well, it's just not true. I mean, it's just not true. You know, the thing is, the charter schools are allowed to not follow all the regulations that public schools follow, and that is determined by federal government. A lot of the requirements, you know, things for Americans with Disability Act, that's federal. I mean, they make a lot of regulations that should be followed, but it's just absolutely not true. And the one thing that they could say is that, well, we don't necessarily have the buildings to put our students in, but they also don't have the requirements that the public schools have. And they are not required to take all students. Public schools have to take all students. So it means that students with disabilities, students who have any kind of thing that will cost the school more, public schools are obligated to take anyone who wants to go to public school. So there are a number of ways that public schools are cost more or are disadvantaged.
I think Tony Urban had a question. Tony?
Just talked about the, am I on mute? Okay.
No, I hear you.
You're fine.
The permanent school fund and how that all operates.
Well, it was established in Texas when they first, it was one of the smart things that they did. You know, it's kind of an interesting story if you look back at public education. When the original Governor Hobby wanted to get elected, he decided to work with Annie Webb Blanton. She's the one that Annie's List is named after. And she was the first superintendent of public schools. And she was the first woman elected before women had the right to vote. And he made a deal with her. He said, you know, if you'll get the votes for me, I'll make sure that you have, you know, that you have control of education, basically. And so at that time, then they were saying we need to fund our schools. So the permanent school fund for the K through 12 education came from the oil fields. So that was a way for Texas to take advantage of oil. And it's been a boon to Texas education. The only problem is they're not very eager to use what's called the rainy day fund when you actually have a rainy day. You know, and they also want to kind of shift that money over to pay for their other budget gaps that they run into. So money gets siphoned off from education by the legislators because they want their budget to balance. They're required to have a balanced budget. And so they fill in those gaps with money that's really intended for teachers and education.
So they're taking money out of the permanent school fund now. They can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they've kind of shuffled it over. In fact, you'd want to ask Aaron Zwiener to talk in more detail about how that has happened. But yeah, they, you know, the permanent school fund varies all the way from, you know, in the sort of low 20s to 40 billion. And I don't know exactly where it is right now because the market, you know, keeps fluctuating. In fact, if you've tried to look at your retirement accounts, you kind of go, oh no, I'm doing that. Oh, great. And you know, it's kind of, it's going all over the place. And part of that is that you have so many people doing insider trading and, you know, making a whole lot of money while some people no longer have their $600 to live on. So.
Thank you.
We have a question on YouTube. They asked, glad to hear that addressing testing is a key component of your campaign. Where does your opponent stand on this issue?
She has not made a statement on this issue. She's been pretty vague in her statements about anything. She claims to like science, but she has not described exactly what aspects of science she likes. And so I think that she probably is in favor of testing because, as I said, that's something that people, there are vested interests in wanting to maintain testing. And the TA director, Mike Morath, loves testing. And it sounds good, you know, assessment. We're, you know, making sure we've got quality. We're making sure that we know whether they're learning something. But unfortunately, the people making those tests have not built good assessment tools. And you ought to have a variety of assessment. There should be, the teachers can do all kinds of assessment with portfolio and, you know, little quizzes, whatever they want to do throughout the year. They know how their students are doing. But if we want to know where we stand in relation to the past or other states, we really should have a one-time test that nobody can prepare for. And I know when I was a kid, they used to say, oh, get a good breakfast and a good night's sleep because you're going to have the Iowa skills test tomorrow. And we go, oh, okay, you know, and that was it. But now, you know, even our children, our daughters hated the preparation for the test. It took weeks and weeks. It was awful. Kim, you're muted.
I certainly did not like the STAR test when I was teaching. I honestly thought I spent about a month of class time testing kids my last several years.
It's terrible. It's terrible for teachers.
Testing and STAR testing, individual, you know, knowing where they are on the reading levels and stuff. I mean, it very time consuming. And I didn't think it was beneficial because of what we used was not always the best way to describe. We did use portfolios one time and that for several years. And what was nice about that is you could honestly see the growth of a child throughout the year by what we collected over that time.
Yeah, that's a much better, that's much more respected in the educational community, in the research communities. It says that gives you a sense of what they've accomplished, and it shows what they do know, rather than drilling into their brain, memorize this and then check a box that says this is the right answer.
Yeah, yeah. And those questions are written by people that I honestly had a parent tell me. He was like an air conditioning repair person, and went into, I think, Pearson's office, and he heard a conversation that between people that were writing questions. It might not have been the STAR test, but it could have been the one before. But the conversation was, well, let's word it this way so we can confuse them. That sort of thing.
Confuse them.
And, he's just there, fixing whatever he was at. Has to fit. Yeah.
Looks like we have a question from, oh, I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, looks like we have a question from Janet, and then Marcia, and then Tony. Janet, go ahead.
Okay, Rebecca, are you going to have any signs that we can have at the Comal County office to distribute, yard signs?
We ordered some signs, so they should be in about 5 days. I'm very
Can we
excited
get
about
some
that.
for the office? Are we gonna have-
Yes. How many would you like?
Well, depends how many you have. How many you're willing to give us. How many you're willing to part with.
Give me a ballpark of what you think you can place for.
Well, at least 20 if you got them.
Okay, well, that I can certainly manage that.
Yeah.
I have the campaign workshop has been doing my races for a long time now, and they say everything is going digital, but they're based in Chicago and Washington, and I say, you don't know Texas. Those signs still mean a lot to people in Texas, and so
Well, we've had a real rush of people coming in for signs. So people are getting signs and they're putting them out. So
yeah.
can you get them to us, or do we need to get them? How do we get them?
Well, if you have any volunteers who are willing to pick up signs, that's great. If not, I can get somebody to get the signs to you, so we can work that out.
Okay, well, all right. Well, okay, I'll work. I'm Janet. I'm the office manager, so I will be.
I see that. Yes.
Okay.
So you have my email, rebecca@voterebecca.com.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Really simple email. REBECA@voterebecca.com.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Not yet. There's two other
Right,
people.
Marcia? Marcia, is there? Are you there?
What?
Your turn. Did you have a question? No? Oh, okay. Okay.
Peggy's got her hand up there.
Oh, Peggy,
Hi.
go ahead.
Hi,
Peggy.
I'm Peggy Ornells, related to Chili. He called your offices. Maybe he spoke with you today. He texted.
He texted. I got the text. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we need signs in Guadalupe as well.
Yes.
And and Chili will drive to get them to your house, to wherever they are, and pick them up.
I appreciated that offer. That is
And he will pick them up for Comal as well.
Okay. Thank you, Peggy.
Wow.
Let me know. Okay. Great.
And 20 would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Great.
I do have a
see.
question.
Yes.
And maybe it's just me going and coming from the United States, in and out for years on end. I never understood the impetus, how did the charter school thing get started and become so powerful? And do you have a historical rendition of that in any way?
Well, originally, charter schools were designed to be like a kind of lab that people could try out experimental ideas that then, if they worked well, the public schools could pick up those ideas. And so it started out as an idea that gave a little bit more freedom for people who wanted to, experiment. But it soon became something that people thought, oh, I can make some money off of this. And so it kind of got perverted. And the other thing is, the public schools were not given the freedom to implement anything that might have been learned from the charter schools. So I think it was a combination of maybe it had a good idea to begin with and say, yeah, let's give these schools a little bit more leeway, and then if it works well, we'll adopt it. We'll try it out in more schools, but it didn't end up working that way. It ended up that those schools had the liberty to do what they wanted to do, and in some cases, they've done things that are pretty, you have to kind of shake your head, because the board has ended up approving or trying to approve some schools that were not at all prepared to be schools. I mean, they wanted to set them up in a strip mall between a body shop and a dry cleaners or something, with no place for the kids to play. And I mean, they didn't end up finally approving them, but the board originally voted for that school. And then, I think that Abbott said, there might be legal issues. Maybe we shouldn't approve this one. But it just ended up being kind of a free-for-all. The same way, with homeschooling. Homeschooling is kind of problematic. And that's something that the board oversees. But, there's some homeschoolers who are still using the McGuffey reader. Which talked about, primitive savages, Indians and stuff. And it's free because it's copyright free. So these companies get that text and then sell it to people who are doing homeschooling. It's a racket. It's a racket. It's a scam.
I think that Rebecca Gilman had a question, and then Tony had another question. Rebecca Gilman, did you have a question or no?
Tony.
Well, I just
Go ahead,
looked
Tony.
I just looked it up. STAR costs $90 million annually to administer in Texas. $90 million on something we know that's not developmentally appropriate for children and causes all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
Why we don't have money. That's why we do so poorly in our schools.
Well, and Betsy DeVos, our Secretary of Education, is pushing charter schools everywhere.
Oh yeah.
That's and for exactly that reason. I mean, she's got 5 mansions and more or less, I don't know, but those are people who want to live high on the hog, on the fat of education. It's like the prison system. We have a prison system that's prisoners for profit. You use them to do work, you use them to do all kinds of things, and you treat them horribly, and you don't rehabilitate them to come out. And you try to get as many crammed in as you can. So you start arresting people for all kinds of minor things because somebody's making money off of prisons. But there's hope. There's hope.
Vote for Rebecca.
That's right. I'll fix it all.
For those of you who are in the Zoom, you can unmute yourselves if you have a question to ask. Just let me call on you so we can do it one at a time. But go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions for Rebecca, or put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to read them.
Well, I just want to thank you all for listening to me. And in some cases, I think I'll need to go back and do a little more research to be able to give you more facts and details about some of the questions. They're really good, good questions. And this is it's a big responsibility, but I am so excited at the prospect of changing education in Texas and getting students excited and doing a good job of it and giving them the full range of facts. It's, they're not going to know what hit them. Once they start actually getting some real education, they're going to go, wow, this is interesting. This is important. This is the real world.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so very much for joining us. And you've got me, you have caused me to be more determined than ever for us to get out voters in Comal County voting all the way down the ballot for Democratic candidates. So
Well, thank you so much. And tell people, vote early.
yes,
These elections are winnable. And, you know, also do the census. That's
Yep.
another thing that,
it's a lot. Yeah.
yeah. Talk about federal funding.
That
That's,
would really provide Comal County and New Braunfels with additional funding just because
Yeah.
of the fast growth, you know.
I
So,
know. Yeah. Well, you guys are doing a great job, and I am very inspired by all of you coming to listen to me and doing all the work that you do. So thank you.
all right. Thanks.
I'm going to go now to another meeting about the environment.
Okay.
Dog it.
That's great. Anyway, looking forward to you sharing the slideshow and answers to questions. Anything.
I will. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Good luck on your next meeting.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great. All right. So now we're moving on to the business portion. And I'm going to give you two numbers. And I want you to tell me what these two numbers are for. 63 and 84. There's a reason why I said those two numbers. All right, class. All right, Shirley.
84 days till the election,
Yes.
63 days till my birthday.
Well, I don't know about that because I don't know when your birthday is. So
Early voting starts. Early voting starts.
yes. So 63 days from today, we will start early voting. And then 84 days, we'll have the biggest election of our lifetime. So we're in I would say the 8th inning now, and then September the 9th inning. And so this it's critical that we work together, just like having Chile go pick up signs for both Comal County and Guadalupe County. That's the way to work together, but work together to increase the voter turnout in Comal County. And I would be so thrilled. I mean, just if Comal County could turn out 80% of the voters, of registered voters, it could do amazing things for Democratic candidates because they cannot all be Republicans and that increase voter turnout. So and that would be, I would say, about 90,000 votes in the county, total votes in the county. So from that, I'm going to give you an update and what the doc board has worked on in the past and what we're working on right now, so that in 2020 we know this one thing: failure is not an option. So it's time to stand up, speak up, and show up. So a little update about the Register to Vote voter registration initiative. It has finally been sent. It's been months of delay, but it was a reason for the delay. A big donor who I personally think it was the Beto group did a Register to Vote campaign across all of Texas. And so Register to Vote advised us for them that they said it would not be a good idea to send out mailers to people that had already had one sent to them. So instead of sending two to the same person, just wait where they can get some data in to know which 1,500 would be best for us to send them out to. So they were sent to the United States Post Office last Thursday, and they are expected to arrive at individuals' mailboxes on August 13th. so Thursday. Once they arrive, we will be getting phone numbers to all 1,500 names. We have their addresses already. We have their driver's license also, their date of births. So we have a lot of information about them already. But an important thing with this is where we come up with a way to contact these 1,500 individuals to remind them to complete the voter registration form. The 1,500 people are people that have moved into Comal County, but have not registered. Most of them have moved from someplace outside of Comal County from another county in Texas, and quite a few of them have moved in from out of state. And the reason why I know that is by the listing of the driver's license. They actually show the state. They are leaning Dems, and the way they find that out is if they were registered in other parts of Texas, they have a voting record there. If they are from out of state and have a voting record, then they have that information. If they have not voted, have never registered and haven't voted, they look at social media data. They look at newspapers, magazines. So a lot of public information that they can gain on a person to help them decide would they lean more Democratic or more Republican. And so we set a rate of at least leaning 60% Democrat, or up to 70, or a minimum of 60% or a minimum of 70%. And the reason why I'm giving those two numbers is it was trying to get the 1,500 in there. So the original work was 70 to 100%. And we were having trouble getting up to the 50%, and that's why in some areas we lowered it down to 60%. So anyway, there's an update on that. At our last dot and board meeting on August 1st, I hope I have that date right because it seems like the days are all just running together now. But the dot and board talked about mailing, get out the vote mailers. And actually on August 1st, we talked about how much money we wanted to recommend spending on get out the vote effort. And that amount of money was $4,500. So not go up to 4,500, but not, that's the limit. It's certainly okay to not spend 4,500. So yesterday we had a meeting to discuss exactly our items. I think in previous meeting we talked about mailing a voter information in a first class envelope and with a sample ballot in it. And by sample ballot, it is much nicer looking than an actual sample ballot. And but it's something that voters can take with them to go vote or to use if they're voting by mail. And Stacy's going to show that. So yesterday at our meeting, we decided to recommend sending out 5,000 of those. I'm very proud of that number. And we'll come up with using the van to come up with targets from that. We've discussed targets, but haven't run the numbers quite yet. And then up to, and this must be matched by the Comal County Democratic Party, where we will match the Comal County Democratic Party dollar for dollar for a last round of hustle. And that hustle campaign would be to remind people to go vote. And so the targeted date to do that is October 12th. So the day right before early voting starts. Hopefully we'll get information about people that voted early to where people that have not voted that we're targeting we could send out another text message on like November 2nd. And there's sometime after the end of early voting and then November 2nd. So those are the two big initiatives. It's going to take a lot of volunteers to get out 5,000 letters. And but I think when you see what the doc board has come up with, I think you're going to be proud of it. Stacy, you know, she has the incredible ability to market stuff, and so you're going to get to see that work from her. So anyway, that's just a little bit of what we're planning, and when Stacy shows everything, then we'll ask for a vote of whether to fund it or not. So anyway, I'm going to let it move on to Marcia, who's going to give a summary of our last couple of meetings minutes. We kind of goofed up last we thought we hadn't sent out the minutes, and we had. Anyway, we kind of a mess up there. So Marcia is going to share June and July, just a summary, and then once she shares the summary for June, then we'll ask for to accept as written, and also and then the same thing for July. So Marcia.
Well, you people who are here are people who come to all the meetings. So this is wait a minute. This is not any news to you, but just a very brief wrap up. We had a guest speaker from the voter protection director who talked about the Texas Supreme Court ruling on extending vote to mail to people who are, you know, just don't want to go because of the virus. I am losing my voice all of a sudden. Some pollens must have moved in, but I really can't talk very well. We talked about the Herald Zeitung and the Spotlight ad and how we're funding that, that we're adding more items to our online store. We have 1,200 followers on our Twitter account. In our checking balance, we have 5,001 in June, $5,105. And that are and we talked about the beginnings of this register to vote that Kim is, you know, talking about how it's coming to fruition now here in August, and that our fundraiser Raise Hell, the Life and Times of Molly Ovens, netted $330. The drive-through voter registration that Kim was going to try to do. That was pretty funny. Kim, she went to a gated community and didn't work very well.
Drive through it all.
Talking again about round 2 of Hustle, that worked out pretty good. There was a US Senate candidate forum that was back in July or June. A virtual town hall back in June, and future candidate forums July 21st already had. So water under the bridge. That's what those minutes were about. That was June. That's what we did. I really can't talk. All of a sudden I can't talk. That's what happened at our June meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the June minutes? It looks like Rebecca's motion to accept the June minutes.
I second.
And then Tony Urban.
Okay.
I saw that your hand went up, so seconded by Tony Urban. If y'all will just, I can see everybody on the screen, so if y'all will just raise your hand. All right, there you go. And I see that Lynn must be in wherever the Christopher Columbus thing is in. So anyway, so motion passed.
Okay, in July, our guest speaker was the epidemiologist. We have 35 more members. That was good. 35 of them are keys. Total membership is 168. Very cool. Herald Zeitung is working very well. Our online store is developing even more. Our checking account balance, $5,467. $5,567 in July. My income came from membership fees, donations, merchandise sales, and profits from the movie showing. Our office is reopening. another candidate forum in July, election workers debriefing. I don't know if they had that or not. And
we
talking
did.
about the register to vote packets. That's all.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the July minutes? Okay, I see that Peggy raised her hand.
I so move.
Okay, and then I saw Tony's hand come up. She said she's holding up two fingers to second the motion. If you say in favor of him, please raise your hand. There you go. All right, motion carries. Yay. That's great. All right. Now we're going to learn the real financial report from Rebecca, because, and don't lose your breath over it. There's a reason why it's changed. So anyway, all right, go ahead, Rebecca. I'm trying to.
Okay,
There you go.
now, can everyone hear
Do you want
me?
me to share it? Yes.
Good.
Do you want me to share the screen with it?
No, I don't think
Okay.
it's necessary because it's a lot of figures, but at any rate, July 1 to July 31, we had $615 in membership. We sold, which I think is fantastic, between the mugs, honey, signs, buttons, and magnets, $224.50. We had donations extra beyond membership, key, and just buying merchandise. We had donations of $355, and then CCDP did reimburse us for our last HC ads and our Cyclo-Viva, which we had agreed to split. So that was $475 for a total income in July of just about $1,700. Our expenses, however, we paid, it's the third quarter, so we paid rent to CCDP of $750. We had our Brontech storage, our Act Blue fees and Square fees. They don't really amount to a lot, but we did buy buttons and car magnets from Ford Imprint, and that was $878, but that's what we're selling in our online store and in the office now. And then we paid our Chamber of Commerce dues of $300. So we had a total between income and expense. We had total expenses of $2,049. So we had net income of minus $380. From a bank balance statement, we had $5,187.26 at the end of July. And then we still had our savings account of $6,027.15 at the end of July. Now, we did finally, and I just want to bring everyone up to date, because normally I just do a month end and that's it, but we did have our Civitech, the Register to Vote program, was $2,700. Now that was $2,250 that the membership had agreed to. And then the board paid an additional, board members paid an additional $450 so that we could get our message out in both English and Spanish. So we had a two-sided flyer, and that cost us a little more money. So after that, we had $2,563.70 in our checking account. I have pulled $3,500 out of our savings account. And so that gives us an actual balance as of today of $6,063.70. So we can spend some more money. And we are down to $2,527.15 in our savings account. When we were not getting, the last quarter, we made 15 cents. So we weren't getting any big interest on our savings account in the first place. But that's our finances at the moment.
And the discussion with the board was about, with that savings account, our thoughts were, you can leave it in savings, but if we don't change the direction of the country, what's the use of it being in savings?
And 2 years ago, we pulled money out of that savings to help finance some local campaigns. And this year, I think the board basically said, we're going to get the vote out. That is much more important than financing campaigns. And that's what we're doing. So that's it.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Very, very thorough report. I appreciate it. All right. Moving on. Angie's going to talk about membership.
So we had 6 new members last month. That brings us to a total of 174 members, which I think is amazing. And 37 key members. Because we have not been able to fundraise like we normally do. Most of our budget has come from membership, and I'm not sure if y'all heard this or not, so I'm just going to reiterate real fast. We have some amazing things on our website for sale. We have this tumbler mug here, which holds adult beverages cold and coffee hot in the mornings. We have these great mugs, these new buttons, magnets for your car, and this amazing honey. I'm not sure who came in late, but this is democratic honey. They are made by democratic bees, and it's the most amazing honey I have ever had in my life. And I am a bit of a honey connoisseur. This stuff is amazing. I'm going to have to sit down with Marcia and Ron and figure out what they do to this, what kind of voodoo magic they do to this to make it so good. It's amazing. So if you haven't bought any yet, I suggest you buy some, because I'm going to go back and buy some more tomorrow.
And that's why they're democratic honeys, because they live at a democratic house. So,
they're very happy bees.
yeah.
If anybody happens to know any friends, anyone in Comal County, any sister DWCC members that aren't members of DOC, if you have names that you want to share with me, I'll be happy to reach out to them and ask them to join us. I would love to see us get to 200 members by October. Again, we're not getting together and eating spaghetti, and we're not able to go to Currents and have our little dancing and wine and live music. We're not able to do that stuff. So if you have any friends or family in the county or Guadalupe County that you think might want to be a member, get with me and let me know, and I'll reach out to them.
Great. And I certainly hope that at some time we will be able to get together and celebrate all of our hard work. So
yes,
and these items are both online.
Yep.
And they are at the office. So they're being sold both ways.
Yep.
All our items.
And it's great. I mean, and
We'll
I
even
I
ship
think I'm
them
gonna
if
have to
you
get
live in
the
Canyon Lake
honey.
and don't want to come down.
Yeah. I think I need to get my jar of honey before they're sold out.
Yes, you do.
I don't know if
Fast.
Marcia and Ron can get the bees to make it faster. So anyway, all right. So on new business, Stacy, share, and I'm really proud of how Stacy has updated something tonight. So anyway, that's as far as I'm going to go with it. So go ahead, Stacy.
Okay. Before I share the Get Out the Vote mailer, I want to share a couple of things that we've been putting we have in the Herald Zeitung, just so you can know, you members understand kind of what we're doing with your membership dollars. One thing that we've been doing is running a spotlight ad. I'm sure you've seen it in the Herald Zeitung. There's a section where they have a big giant ad every Thursday, and then they have smaller ads all around it. We have smaller ads all the time, and then every once in a while we have a giant spotlight ad that's just for us. And so I want to show you our most recent one that ran on July 30th, just in case you missed it. This is the ad that ran. Can you see it? Can everyone see it?
It was about that size too. Yeah, it's about that close to that size.
Yeah, it's close. That's almost 100%. I couldn't quite do it 100% because it won't show up on my screen, but it was really popular. We got a lot of good feedback on it. Several people commented on our Facebook page. We're excited that these ads are running. I think they're really forceful, and I think that they really get the message across. So I'm really proud of those. I'm proud of the board. I'm proud of the membership for funding it. And I think that that's an important thing for us to do. Harold Zeitung is read by a lot of people in New Braunfels, and so it's really good for us to have a showing there. So just so you know, that's the one that ran on July 30th. We have 2 more scheduled for in October. We're going to be running 2 ads in October. And those will be really hard hitting, really getting out the vote and reminding people of why it's so important to do that. So I wanted to share that. We also have purchased, go ahead.
Before the 2 ads in October will be October 1st. So right before early voting, and then October 29th, right before election day. So
yeah, and we got those reserved really.
That we'll get a 3rd one free like we did the last round.
Yeah.
So we can only hope. We can only hope. So anyway.
So I want to, let me show this to you again real quick. So I know you guys have seen this 100 times, but I want to reiterate this stand up, speak up, show up line. We've been putting it on everything that we do because our whole goal is to get out the vote. We want people to stand up, we want them to speak up, but most importantly, we want them to show up. So we have been putting that on everything that we do. That's like our brand for this year. Stand up, speak up, and show up. And we've been trying to explain to people why they need to stand up, why they need to speak up, and most importantly, why they need to show up. Because if they don't, there is absolutely no point to everything that we've been doing. So please encourage your friends to do that. All of the paraphernalia that you've seen, the buttons, I'll show you, I'll stop my share so I can show them to you. The buttons, the magnets, all of those things have that same message on them, and there's a reason for it. It's to make people show up to vote. That's the most important thing that they can do. So please share that message as much as you can. We have things that have it written on it, but please share it locally and follow us on social media if you're on social media, and try to help get that message out. I want to show you another ad real quick, and then I'll get to I promise I'll get to the mailer that we're going to be doing.
No, I hope the ad
important.
that you're going to show is what's going to come out on Saturday the 15th, I believe.
The 16th, yes. So
Okay.
this ad that I'm going to show you right now is the Harold Zeitung is doing a special edition for the women's vote. They're doing a special edition of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. And they asked us if we would be interested, and of course we absolutely are excited about that. So we are placing this ad. It's a little bit smaller than this. I've got it enlarged on my screen here, but this ad in honor of the 19th Amendment and the women who have been standing up and showing up for more than 100 years. So we're excited to be placing that ad. That'll be in this Sunday's paper, along with many, many others. They're going to have like a big Rosie the Riveter. It's a big giant section that you can put on your window, and then we're sponsoring it. So we're really proud to be a part of that. Really proud to be sponsoring it. It was well worth the funds, and we had to turn that one around really fast. So I appreciate the board approving it quickly. It's hard to sometimes sit on your hands and not change things. So I appreciate them approving that and getting that out the door quickly. So that's great.
And Stacey, it'll come out on Saturday the 16th. The 15th, because there's no Sunday paper right now.
That's
correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, on the weekend paper. Yeah.
It's
15th and 16th. Right.
the
Exactly.
15th and 16th.
And I believe CCDP is going to have an ad in.
And Democratic women are going to have
Democratic
2
women.
ads.
Shirley, do you know about DWCC?
They are having an ad. Yeah.
Okay.
They are having 2 ads. They're putting 2
ads.
in.
There you go.
Okay, great.
That's great.
Great.
According to Renee.
We're getting that Democratic message out there too.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yes.
So lots of Democratic support.
That's terrific.
That's good. And it also supports our local paper, which is an important thing to do. So.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to share.
Okay, Marcia
Kim asked me to share.
Marcia had a question, Stacey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yes, rah-rah, we're getting a lot of coverage in the newspaper. How many people really read the newspaper? So I want to put a little, boost in there for, please think about that billboard. We kind of laughed about it because it's expensive, but think about it. Sorry, done.
Last time I looked, it cost more than $10,000 to do a billboard. So
Oh, yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
no, no,
there's
no.
a reason everyone
Before
wants to
they
do them.
weren't $10,000. We've done that before. We did that 6 or 8 years ago. Has it gone
It's
up?
like $3,000 to $5,000 today,
Yes. Okay.
and we
yeah.
don't have it.
And the
That's
better
the
the
problem.
placement,
But
the better the
if
placement.
we got a wealthy donor
Yeah, sure.
or donors to help, then we could look into that. I think I think it would be neat for us if our in this coming newsletter on Sunday, for me to add a little thing saying, hey, there's this great billboard location, but we don't have the funds. If we can get the funds, if I can find out how much that board would go for,
Yeah.
we can get those funds. All we can do is, if we don't ask, we know we're not going to get anyone to.
That's right.
So
Yep.
might as well try. So anyway, all right, go ahead, Stacy. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I love billboards. I would love to do them. I just also know how horribly expensive they are. And the better placed they are, the more expensive they are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So let me show you what we are doing, since we can't do a billboard. We are going to do a get out the vote mailer. So I'll explain kind of what this is, and then I'll show it to you. So our idea is to send out a flyer. It's a voter education flyer that explains all of the things you need to do to vote. This is the thing that Kim was talking about earlier that's going to go out to 5,000 people in Comal County. And it's designed to be an education piece. It's designed to explain all of the things you need to do to stand up, to speak up, and to show up. And then with that, we're going to have an insert of the ballot. It'll have all of the people who are running in order, as the same order that they are on the ballot. It'll have their names and their pictures, so you can take that with you to the polls and use it when you're voting. So you can just vote all the way down the ballot. So let me show these to you. The board has been working really hard on these. The whole board has been working hard on these. Everyone's given a lot of really good input on it. It looks kind of familiar. It's very similar to the ad that we ran. It has the same general theme of history is watching, what is written is up to you. And then it tells you to vote Democrat. And then we have our stand up, speak up, show up, and then exactly what you need to do all of those things. We're talking about registering to vote and exactly how that happens and why it's important that you check your information now and don't wait. We have information about requesting a ballot by mail application right now if you're eligible. We explain what that means, how you can get a ballot by mail application, and how you need to either drop it at the elections office or mail it immediately. We also encourage people to understand the voting process. We've given them some resources so that they can do that. This is the Texas Democrats site. That has some really good voter information on it. So we're referring them to that, and that's their phone number. Under Speak Up, we're encouraging people to share their knowledge and spread the word, just like I just did with you. We're encouraging them to be social, to follow our Democratic candidates and causes on social media and share their messaging. And then also spread the word, encourage everyone to vote, participate in forums, correct inaccurate information if you hear it. That's what we need to do. It's really important that we do that, and it's very important that we do it locally. And then most importantly, that's why it's in giant letters here, is show up. We need to know when to vote. We tell them that early voting is faster. We give them the dates, and we tell them they can vote curbside at all locations. Know where to vote. We tell them they can vote at any Comal County voting location, and how to vote. Bring in your inserted ballot with you and vote for every candidate down the ballot. And then of course we have our information on there. So this is the flyer that will go, it's just going to go in a plain old number 10 envelope with our name and our little donkey on the outside of it. And then on the inside, this is the ballot. This is the front and back. It's like a rack card. It's like a third of a page, so it'll fit really nicely in with a folded piece of paper. And this is the ballot. It'll be printed on kind of a hard, glossy cardstock so that they can save it, so they won't throw it away. That's the idea, so that it'll be something that they can keep and put on their refrigerator and keep by their computer and keep next to them, so that when it's time to go vote, they can take it with them. And then when we spend our hustle dollars to remind them, the idea is that they'll grab this and go and vote, either with early voting or on the day of on November 3rd. So I was able to get Comal Harris in there within 2 hours. So she's on there. We're really excited about that. It has everyone's in order. It's in the exact same order that it'll be on the ballot. This is front and back. We have the dates. I need to fix this date. I'm sorry. This should say October 13th. I will fix that before it's printed. But it has all of the candidates and their little pictures on there. So I think this will be a really nice piece. We went round and round and round about exactly what this should be, because it's so important that we get out the vote and get people to the polls. And we tried to put together a good piece that will inform people, will give them a lot of really good information and some good resources for how to find information if they don't know it, and then also give them a handy little thing that they can hold and take with them and say that they'll save. We were afraid that if we just sent a piece of paper, it would get thrown in the trash, but sending a piece of paper with this hopefully will encourage people to save it and then get out there and put it out there. The idea, Kim, is to send this the first week in October, right, or the last week in September. Is that what we're trying to do?
No, I think we need to mail them by September 15th to allow for the possible slowdown of post office.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll let you have another look. This is the flyer one more time. And then this is the insert. Again, I'll change that date there for you. And we'll have the board will look it over one more time, make sure I didn't get any typos, which I inevitably have. So I'm real proud of this. I think that a lot of work went into it. I want you to know all of us gave our input and tried really hard to make it the best piece that we can put out. Marcia, you had a question. Go ahead.
On the ballot, will Rebecca's State Board of Education say seat 5 or District 5 on the ballot?
On the ballot, I believe it says seat 5. I took the language from the ballot, but if that's wrong, please let me know.
I don't know. I don't know. That's just what the words that were used early in the meeting. Okay, no, that's fine to me.
Okay.
Well, Stacy, I'll go through and check everything on the Secretary of State website.
Great. Yeah, double, triple check. Make sure my spelling is correct. I typed all of these, and so I often read what I think I typed. So it would be great if somebody would give me another pair of eyes. So, so that's that. I'll turn it back over to Kim. I'll stop sharing so she can get a vote on this. Unless anyone has questions or concerns.
I do. Stacy,
yes, ma'am.
This would be great to have in the office to hand out to people when they come in. You know, we'll get a sample ballot eventually, but this really is better than a sample ballot. Maybe we could make paper copies of this to have in the office to hand out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, a CCBP.
And we can probably even order maybe a few extras. Maybe I can order another, small quantity, 50 or 100.
Or we could just make paper copies. Wouldn't that be cheaper than their cardstock? This is cardstock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be cheaper to just do paper? People that walk the office.
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great idea. Good.
Yeah.
I could run them on my printer here. If Stacy would help me, to where I know how to put it on the paper, because it's
I can help you with that.
But you know what? Honestly, we can always make it larger. That's not going to make a difference to where I just use a regular size sheet of paper.
How big is this? Is this 8.5 by 11 long, or?
No, these are 8.5 long by about 3.5. It's a third of a page, basically.
Okay, so, well, whatever. I just think it'd be great.
Yeah, Kim, what I can do is put them up 3 to a page, so you can just cut them into thirds.
Okay, that'll work, because I have cardstock paper here anyway.
Oh,
great.
And so, and on my printer, if I don't use it, the ink just dries up.
You know what?
If I bought the ink, I would like to use the ink. So.
You know what I found in the cupboard in the office is some photo paper. It's
that would be beautiful.
Can we use that to print these?
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, Stacy, that's a question for you. I mean,
Stacy,
Yeah,
would that-
we'll figure it out. We'll figure
right.
out how to get you some for sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
right.
That's
I've
a
got
great
that
idea.
photo paper. It's not doing anything. Nobody needs it. Let's just use it.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
All right.
Can I ask a question here? Are we talking about not just the candidates, but when you have copies of this in the office, you're saying the information sheet as well, right? As a separate one?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
that one, I think that would be a great
could
one to have.
honestly- We could honestly put it in an envelope too.
Well,
I mean, we're
No,
just
can you put it
no.
front and back? Can you put this on the back of the ballot thing? Or is this too big?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
If you're trying to, it'll bleed through if you do it on regular paper.
Okay.
It's probably better to just do it on separate
Separate.
pieces.
Well, then we probably need
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to do an inexpensive version to put in the office. Absolutely. I don't see why
But
we
the
shouldn't.
CCDP can pay for some of that. I mean, it's the office.
Exactly. Angie just texted and suggested that. So, great idea.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
okay. Just let me know on it. And on the envelopes, I was just thinking a plain envelope, not anything.
It doesn't need to be in an envelope.
You know, look, people come in.
Yeah,
And,
just-
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So the board talked about spending up to $4,500. Right now, the estimate for the 5,000 mailers is under between the mailer and the up to $1,000 one dollar to dollar match with CCDP for the last hustle round. To spend no more than 4,500. So, but since the mailers, what the estimated cost is under 3,500, hopefully we won't spend 4,500. But I didn't want to change the amount in case, you know, some kind of unexpected costs arises, you know. Anyway, so is there anyone to propose saying yes to spending
I think you
$4,500?
need a motion. You
A
need a
motion there.
motion.
Thank you. I was missing that word, Rebecca. Would anybody come up with a motion to support spending $4,500 on the mailers and the hustle? All right, Tony, go ahead.
Wait a minute. Did you say mailers and hustle? Is that what you started to say?
Yes. To where,
Yeah.
to where the limit is 4,500. So no,
Mhm.
and no more than 1,000, up to $1,000 dollar to dollar match with Comal County Democratic Party.
That
So
means
that could be under 1,000 as well. Yeah.
what?
But we won't go above 1,000. All right, Tony.
I motion to spend the money, whatever it is.
Well, say the amount.
4,500.
Okay. Is there a second? I see a couple of seconds. All right. From Joyce and Angie. And if you are in favor of spending, allowing us to spend $4,500 on our get out to vote effort, raise your hand.
We won't need any for.
Here we go. All right, looks good. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I just hope this this direction works for us. You know, it took some thought process about spending money directly on getting out the vote as to sending money to candidates. I know all candidates need money.
Right, we're not.
My thoughts were building the Democratic community not only helps this election, but in future elections. So whereas candidates, they change.
Okay. Move
That's where
on.
we are. But I really, really appreciate that. So, and I'm so happy for the opportunity for us to put it in the office as well. So anyway, and I think we should can post that on our Facebook page to say that it's there, and you know, website, all that, you know. I think that's a great idea there. So And I can make as many copies as we need. So.
You know, it's 8 o'clock.
All right, our last item, this is Rebecca Gilman's and Marilyn's. They get to explain all this because bylaws is not my cup of tea. So anyway, I have never been known to follow rules. So anyway, so even
Stacy, can you put it up?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So anyway, they're going to explain to
Yeah,
you
working on it right now.
what the board has agreed to.
So we got started on this because we were getting prepared for the annual meeting and discovered that our current bylaws go 1-year terms with an option to re-up once. And we've done that already. And I didn't think it seemed to be in the best interest of everyone to throw the whole board off this year. So we're proposing changes to our bylaws so that we don't end up with this kind of circumstance. We need to extend the term of the officers to 2 years rather than 1 to maintain continuity of the board knowledge by staggering the terms, having the president in odd years in order to prepare for elections in even years. You got it there, yeah. So last year, if you remember, in November, we approved changes adding 2 vice presidents of membership and communications to the executive board, as their contributions were vital. Now the contributions are still vital, but in seeking to extend the terms to 2 years and split the selection of officers, we agreed that the membership and communication should return to standing committee positions, but be included in the executive committee board meetings as voting members on a monthly basis.
Like 2-year terms, but not for the whole board. So you have a continuity. We've always said that, but they can't be sure that
the quorum for increase from 3 to 4. This allows membership and communications chairpersons to maintain their positions. So that we don't have to vote for their positions. We agree that their positions are vital and hoping that we'll just vote for the officers and not the committee persons. But the committee persons need to continue to have a vote. We also stipulated in the bylaws the monetary limits for checks without the members have to prove anything over 500. And the president and the treasurer have to co-sign any checks that are in excess of 1,000, so that we just keep a better control for the future. And so if you see the expected changes there, what we're talking about is 2-year terms instead of 1-year terms and staggering the terms. So the president and treasurer being elected this coming year and the vice president and secretary being elected the following year. That would require that the current vice president and secretary continue on for a year, so that we're ending up with 3-year terms at this point.
I think Marcia has a question. Go ahead, Marcia.
I wonder how you came up with that combination of officers, president and treasurer, and then vice president and secretary. It seems to me that that the order of hierarchy, I'll say, order of expendability or something would be president, then treasurer, then vice president, then secretary. So it seems like you would want to have the president and the, you know, the highest and the lowest, the president and the secretary be cycled out 1 year, and then the next year, the treasurer and the vice president, because it seems to me it would be harder to find people to be the president and the treasurer rather than the president and the secretary. And then the next year, treasurer would be hard to find and vice president would be a little easier, if you see what I'm saying.
Oh.
It just seems like a combo.
Well, the reason we put it that way was the thought that the secretary can kind of keep the new president kind of cued in a little better about what had been happening and what's coming up. And but it isn't. It is a good point. It just, I mean, the secretary has the often more intimate knowledge of what happened in the meetings because she had to write them all down. I don't know. That was it was kind of a recommendation that we were pairing that.
Yeah, we did. We did. Am I on?
Yes, I can hear you, Rebecca.
Okay. One of the things we did go back to Carol Smith and Rick Nathan, who had both been presidents for quite a few years, and seek their advice. And some of these things are definitely their recommendations. And when we looked at them, that's what we did. Now, this is the first reading. So Marcia makes some good points. I don't know if anyone else has some points to make. But this is the first reading. We'll have the second reading in the September meeting and vote on these. We will not be voting on these tonight. This is strictly just the first reading of any amendments. So I think Stacy or I can actually send all this out to the members on MailChimp. And then we can vote on it and give everybody a chance to read it and see how they feel about this. And then unless everybody feels good right now, I don't know, but that's a possibility. And then we will vote on it next time.
So the idea with the president being elected for odd terms is that the president would be experienced when the elections come up. So that so the pairing is not so rigid as far as I'm concerned. I think
True.
And those are good points that the treasurer is definitely going to be a tough one to
Yep.
Yep.
I know I could not do the treasurer's job. You know, that's why all my bills have to be paid automatically. So they get paid there. I don't have to think about them.
Any other comments about that? Because that's a good point, and I mean, it makes for a tough election one year and a simpler election the next year.
Are there any other comments?
I think it deserves some more discussion. I think Marcia's been around for a long time. She's served in, I'm not even sure how many different capacities. And I think she makes a really, really good point. So we should probably consider this a little bit.
Absolutely. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So
Billy,
are there other sticking points that we should put more thought to on this?
Chili, you've been in a leadership role. Do you have anything to add?
I think that it's a good idea that Marcia is bringing up. I hadn't thought of it that way, but because I was, yay, Joyce, yay, 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 yes, yes. And then, okay, yeah, all right. I would think that we'd let it rest, and unless there's other comments, and the point about sending out the information to everybody via the chimp mail, so that we can all see it. And then we can have a little more discussion. It's probably the best interest of everybody.
Okay, I can do that. I'll send it out with the minutes for the when we get the minutes of this meeting, I'll send this out with the minutes so that we know it's the second reading for our September meeting. But we did have to get it done now so that the nominating committee would know what they needed to do by October, because they have to present the officers for the next term at the October meeting so that we can vote on them in November. Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Great, great. Thank you for going over the difficult stuff that I call more legal stuff. Anyway, that's everything that's on our agenda. Does anybody have anything to share before we adjourn?
Hooray for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and look, I think Doc showed that we are a rapid response group. We got it on. we got her on today. So yeah,
I think it's going to be a terrific ticket. I really do.
Yep. Anyway, Cornyn's already mad, said she's the most liberal thing, and a friend of mine, let's see, this is on Twitter. Camilla House of Harris, breaker her balls. Senator Cornyn said GovTrack ranked Kamala Harris as the #1 most liberal senator for 2019, and a good Apple computer friend said, and we rank you as the most disappointing senators in history.
I'm waiting for Trump to say, I am absolutely waiting for Trump to say, she's not my type.
Yeah. That'll be good. So anyway, well, it's great to end. Okay, Shirley, go ahead.
I'll try not to make a habit of making plugs for the Democratic women, but we have a special thing coming that's so dear to my heart because I am a woman. And the centennial of the ratification of the 19th Amendment is coming up. So on August 24th in the evening, we are going to have a special Zoom meeting. We're going to have it, and it's a celebration for the centennial. We've got Wendy Davis as confirmed, and Patla is going to be one of our special guests. Dr. Jessica Edwards, you may remember a few weeks ago, a man from Canyon Lake wrote a very nasty, racist letter to the editor. Well, the first big response back was from Dr. Jessica Edwards, a medical doctor here. She's going to be with us. Colette Neese is going to be with us. And Jen Ramos, who is president of the Austin Young Democrats, and she's also a representative to the state executive committee. So that'll be Monday, August 24th. Watch the newsletter for Zoom information. Everyone is welcome. Love to have everybody. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Shirley, I am so glad you shared that, because Lydia had shared that with me in a conversation we had about concerning the women's suffrage ad, and she had shared that, and I had forgotten it. So
good. I didn't know how you feel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I'm excited about it now. Is when Lydia was telling me about it. So
thank you.
Sounds great. So anyway, looking forward to it. All right, and I saw Joyce hand.
Yeah, I'll try to make this real quick. I know everybody wants to end this, but let me just say that I've worked in voter registration, for several years, and worked with VDRs and everything. And I'm feeling sort of a real dilemma right now, whether to try to have any sort of in-person event. It had to be real, probably outside and social distancing and masks and all that kind of stuff. So I was one, I was going to maybe get if anybody had some thoughts about that. Let me say also that tomorrow, the National Voter Registration Day team is putting on a webinar about how to hold National Voter Registration Day during the COVID pandemic. And they're supposed to have different ideas. I know Kim and I listened to an earlier once, and they talked about drive-by voting. You know, just being there and see people drive by and you have your mask on and you hand them a clipboard or whatever. And so I'm trying to think both at the headquarters and then maybe at things like the West Side Community Center parking lot or something. I don't know, any thoughts about that? I know we don't want this to go on long, but do you think that people would be willing to do that, and would it be worthwhile? And anybody have something they want to say? Or
what about the farmers market?
Well, I mean, that's what I probably would try to do it when there wouldn't be so many people. I'm sure that's a good place, but could we social distance and everything then? Or?
I would think that there's a possibility to social distance someplace in there. We might have to take a look at one weekend to see where we could possibly set up a table. And, you know, it is outdoors. It's not inside.
Process. I looked into this before, the farmers market, just as we were closing in, like February, March or something. And Krause's wouldn't let us just put up a thing in their patio area. You have to apply to the farmers market group and get. And we don't have a.
Could you be on the sidewalk? Could you be on the sidewalk outside of it?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you what, I might, if you don't mind, Rebecca, I'll email you and Marilyn, and we'll, if someone has a contact to ask, we could see.
Yeah.
And I think as far as having outdoor events, Gloria is real careful about saying certainly nobody should feel pressured, and we might have it open for VDRs, but and we'd have to come up with really good protocols. But we might be trying to do something, and we'll definitely do something for National Voter Registration Day, September 22nd, and also the weekends before and after. So please be listening for that. And if you have some great ideas or places or whatever, please let kind of figure out how to do that this year.
Okay.
Joyce, maybe the public library would let us have something in the parking lot.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And advertise that and say, you know, come by then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe Saturday. That's a good idea. Okay, so if anybody has ideas, let me know. And also, if you have the time, if you go to the National Vote, just do nationalvoterregistrationday.org. I'm sure they'll have the webinar listed, or if you want to email me, I'll send you the link too, if you're interested in finding out what they recommend. It'd be great to do. So thank you, Kim, for letting me say that.
Sure. Well, and that's what I like about us, you know, have the dialogue and share all the information we have all the way around. So
yeah.
Anyway, anybody else before we adjourn? And I appreciate everyone being here. I loved what Rebecca Bell-Metereau said. You know, a lot of people do not understand how important the State Board of Education is. And that's where voter education comes in. And so when she started sharing that slide, I was thinking, wow, this is a great way to share the information about her. So
yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, if that's okay with everybody to adjourn, I have 8:20 on my clock on my cell phone. The official time, since it's Apple made it. Anyway, so, and thanks everybody, and we'll keep you updated about how we're progressing on the mailer and stuff.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
And thanks to everyone who joined us on YouTube. This will be posted later, so you can watch it whenever you want to come back and watch it, tell your friends. We'll be posting on our Facebook page, and you can come back to this page to watch anytime. Thank you.
Great, Stacy. Let me stop the recording.
Good
All
night.
right. Good job. Good job.
Good
Anyway,
job.
I loved how you got Camilla in there.
Yeah, I was telling Marcia it was only because I was able to, my meetings ended early, so I was able to put it in there. So glad.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
So anyway, and I appreciate all the changes on the flyer too. So they look good.
Yeah,
so,
those look good. I think, and I was able to change it a little bit and make it a little spaced out, so it looks a little bit better. So
Yeah.
I'll send everybody those copies first thing in the morning, so you can all review them and make sure we're
Okay.
good. And then we can send it
Yeah.
to the printer.
And I am
Okay.
going to check the Secretary of State website to make sure on the order, and then the wording. Is it seat or district?
Yeah,
the
let me
state
know. I
board
think it's
database.
seat, but let me know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks again.
All right.
Enjoy your
Take
evening.
care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.